You see her story? Yes, our story. That's not just pain, that's purpose and progress. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Her Story, and I have the dynamic leader Bianca Davis here with us. She is representing New Friends, New Life, a dynamic organization in the city of Dallas that is changing lives as we speak. So just give a warm welcome. I'll let you kind of introduce yourself. Kind of gave a little highlight, but you introduce yourself.
Sure. I am, first of all, so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Bianca Davis, and I'm the CEO of New Friends, New Life. We are an anti-trafficking agency that's been around for 28 years, serving women and girls who've been trafficked and exploited here in the Dallas area.
Okay, so as the CEO, all the things that you have, what drew you to this incredible work?
You know, first of all, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would be a nonprofit CEO. It just wasn't on my radar. I think a lot of it was the respect that I had for the position and for the nonprofit industry. I understood the demands and the burden and responsibility of carrying a mission, solving a huge social ill, and having people in your care. And so I thought, that was a lot. Who would really want, to head in that direction? But I was drawn to New Friends, New Life after serving at Genesis Women's Shelter, where we saw women and children who were experiencing domestic violence. And there is so much crossover between the trauma that's involved in DV and the trauma of being trafficked or exploited. So when the opportunity came up, New Friends, New Life was looking for a way to reintroduce survivors to the community, to tell the story of how a woman ends up in this situation, to connect the dots with corporations and community leaders. And when I saw that opening, I thought that that's something that I would be excited and honored to do because of the similarities that I was already experiencing working at Genesis. So it was a pretty seamless transition in that respect, but it is also the weight and responsibility of it is very present with me every day.
Yes, I can only imagine. So, as CEO, how has your leadership evolved since joining the organization? And, what have been your biggest lessons along the way?
You know, I transitioned into the role in the middle of the pandemic. And so August of 2020, there was so much uncertainty still happening. We weren't meeting in public places. We were doing everything virtually. We couldn't hold our special events. It was such a foggy period to step into the leadership role during, but it was baptism by fire. And I learned so much about how to lead in the dark, how to keep moving forward, even if you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that the work must continue, following your convictions, and believing that as long as you do your part, in the end, it's going to work out. You know, philanthropy is all about planting seeds. We're not selling a product. I can't say, I will sell 10 of these and make X amount of dollars. What we're doing is educating and inspiring people to give. And that's not transactional. It's very relational, emotional. People connect with the cause and with people. And so during that season, I learned how to lead with authenticity, to be very nimble and flexible, and to have a lot of faith that at some point we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it came slowly but surely.
But you know what? That speaks to your leadership, because when I was introduced to New Friends, New Life, that comes all the way through, whether it was through the luncheon or just volunteering, your heart shines through, that you draw people in, you introduce us to these women, these dynamic women, and these survivors, and then even how you connect men to New Friends, New Life, because sometimes you just kind of feel like, well, it's just a women's issue.
Right.
And that's the only person who can serve in this, but your leadership really reflects just the heart. Your heart really reflects in New Friends, New Life.
Thank you. I'm glad that shines through. I tell my team all the time, every woman who walks through our door, imagine that she's wearing a sign. And the question she's asking is, are you for me or not?
Wow.
because the journey of a survivor is filled with disappointments, people who have failed them, whether it's a parent or loved one, society in general. She has come across so many closed doors. People have made judgments about who she is and why she's in the predicament that she's in. So when she comes to us, she wants to know, are you like everyone else, or can I trust you here? Are you for me or not? And so every program we implement, everything we do answers that question for her. And it's important that that shines through.
Amazing, amazing. I think about my daughter was doing a community service, and part of the community service, they went on a bus tour around Dallas, and it just kind of highlighted just some high traffic areas, places that you would never imagine. Yes. And that has still transformed my child. I think she did that tour when she was 16. She's now 21. And like we were driving by this one hotel, she's like, that's where it is. But just the sense of awareness that you're bringing to our city and just nationwide is such an impactful.
That bus tour is probably the biggest myth buster that we have.
Oh my
because
goodness,
people
y'all.
assume, to your point, that we're going to go to a certain part of town and you would never find yourself there. You don't know anyone who would ever be there. And then we head north on 75 and you're like, wait a second, people work nearby, or their children go to school nearby, or it's near their place of worship. It really shows that this crime is taking place right under our noses, right in our backyard every day. And so we partner with the police department and Homeland Security to look at some of those adjudicated cases. So it's hotels and shopping plazas and neighborhoods to really help people understand why this issue is so critical and why we need the community's support.
Amazing. I think one thing it taught me as a mom was to make sure I educate not only my girls, but also my son, because you feel like, oh, it's just a girl. No, it's everyone.
Right.
But I love that I love that New Friends, New Life supplies these needs and supplies and answers these questions for anyone that has any concerns or just are even just curious on how they can kind of serve. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But, thinking about, you often talk about the importance of restoration and empowerment. What does restoration look like both personally and just through through the organization?
Well, through New Friends, New Life, restoration looks like reintroducing her and replacing her back into society where she has been ostracized, marginalized. What does she need to be able to show up for herself and her family? So at New Friends New Life, that means helping her provide for her basic needs. Where is she sleeping? What is she eating? How is she taking care of herself at a very basic level? And then looking at the emotional trauma that she has experienced. A survivor once told me that by the time someone is trafficked, that's not the first bad thing that's happened to her, right? So you're peeling back layers of witnessing domestic violence, experiencing childhood sexual assault, growing up in backgrounds of poverty. How do we clinically help her restore herself from that trauma? And then the third piece is, how does she now find a job? And when you think of women who are showing up at our doors, a lot of times they now have a criminal record because maybe they've been arrested for engaging in prostitution, which is inextricably linked to trafficking. She's out there because she's being forced to do it, because there are consequences if she doesn't. But at the same time, she's committing a crime.
Right.
So she has a criminal record, she has a minimal education, she doesn't have a work history. So how was that woman going to take care of herself? So restoration looks like helping her clear her records, get a GED, enroll in training, and support herself. Personally, I think the journey of restoration is so much more just complex and complicated. Yeah. But it's, especially when you have a service-led heart, it's so easy to just give. You just give of yourself day in and day out. And very rarely do I take time to say, okay, how is Bianca handling and processing this trauma, because you step into this space. And even though I'm not a therapist, my days are filled with hearing the stories, telling the stories, finding the resources. And so I have my own shield of darts that I'm trying to protect myself from. And so I take time to meditate.
Okay,
and
listen,
pray.
because that's going to be my next question. Now, Bianca, I got to hold you accountable, girl.
I do. I try to just pray and enjoy life, to be very grateful. I'm in such a space of gratitude. When I look at what our women push through just to get to our office, I'm like, what am I complaining about? I have a roof over my head. I'm healthy. I am employed. I am not being hurt by someone I love. When you think of where you are and versus where you could be, that provides a sense of gratitude, and that's how I restore and replenish myself.
All right, y'all. Now, I love Bianca down because she has the heart of gold. But Bianca, when is your next vacation?
Actually, I have a few days coming up. I'm so proud of myself. I have a few days coming up. Here's the challenge. It's so hard to disconnect because even though I'm not in the office, I'm like, okay, well, let me see what's happening on our social media. Is someone reaching out for support? All of these things. And so it's really hard to disconnect.
When you do disconnect and you're not praying and you're not meditating, what does Bianca do for fun?
I watch football. I'm the biggest football fan. I have a fantasy football team.
What?
I've been a part of a fantasy football league for 10 years. All women. We're called the End Zone Divas.
Let's go, End Zone Divas.
The closest I came to the championship was last year. Made it to the championship round with my team. Cut to the chase because I had Jamar Chase. So I have really cool team names. I have to tell you the story. So a couple of years ago, I had Jared Goff from the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So my team name.
Because I know football, girl.
Look at you. I see
know
this.
Football.
So my team name that year was She Went to Jared. Get it?
Okay. She went to Jared.
And so this year I have Bijan Robinson from
he's good.
the
He's
Falcons.
Good.
And my team name is We Ride at Bijan. Kind of like a play on We Ride at Dawn. So I love it. But that's an escape for me.
That's your escape. Okay,
on Sundays after church, it's Red Zone Channel, and I'm just talking noise in the chat about my football team.
You be talking noise.
Yes.
And she's so sweet, y'all. So I am trying to imagine, like, somebody asked me the other day, like, do I play space? I was like, yeah, I play space.
Yeah.
And I talk major trash.
Yes, I can't see that either. I can't see you girl, I'm talking trash, playing spades. But I was 1-4, so I was kind of quiet. But now I'm on a little win streak, and all I needed was one win, and they cannot get me to shut up in the chat. But that's how I disconnect.
Okay, I'm glad. Because I have to look out. Because sometimes when we are so engaged in just a leader as a woman, we, we don't take time for ourselves. Right. So it could be something as small. Like somebody would be like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, you know what? Just me walking on the Katy Trail for 20 minutes, that gives me life.
Yes.
Or just me perusing through TikTok, and they're like, that can't count. I was like, okay, well, I'll take my walk then. And looking at cute little dogs that I know I'm not going to buy, but just seeing them on the trail kind of gives me like life to go back to do what I do.
Yeah, and then I think the older I get too, my body really tells the story. So even if I think, oh, I'm not stressed, I'm not worried, I'm fine, it shows up. Yeah. There's this book in the clinical space called The Body Keeps the Score. And it talks about how trauma and stress are stored in your cells. Like on a cellular physical level, your body responds to these stressors. And so if I'm not paying attention, it shows up anyway. Wow. And it's always better to address it before it becomes a physical or a health issue.
Yeah, you know what? It could be like the smallest thing. I went for my physical and so on, and the doctor was like, your blood pressure is like sky high. And she was like, Stephanie, if it doesn't go down, I'm going to have to put you on medication. And she was like, what are you doing different? And I hadn't been working out because I had just been kind of running around. And I saw her like a month later, went to the doctor again, but I was working out. And so of course my pressure. So you're right. Your body will let you know like, hey, this is too much. I'm tired. And so on. Yeah. And we got to take our breaks.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love for you to share a story. The one thing I love about the beautiful luncheon that y'all just had was the stories. And I invited some women from our church and just some friends to New Friends, New Life luncheon, but just the stories, the impact stories that they witnessed and that they were exposed to. And just I really kind of call it like a testimony, was so impactful. But would you mind, of course, don't use names, but that captures the heart. Can you share like a story that captures the heart of New Friends, New Life?
Yeah. One story that comes to mind. So in our women's program, it's a 4-phase program that's much like enrolling in college.
Okay.
And in each phase, we're looking at her basic needs, her emotional health, and then her economic empowerment. And as you're going from one phase to another, we have different benchmarks. So when a woman's moving from phase 3 to phase 4, she does like a public speaking presentation just for the staff and her peers to get her in the mode of practicing how do I, present myself and speak in public. And I remember this lady comes in to give her presentation. It's like 3:00 on a Thursday, and the staff is sitting in the room. And she starts her presentation by saying, "My first day at New Friends, New Life was going to be the last day of my life."
Wow.
And she goes on to say she had tried so many other programs and options, and she was giving this one shot. And if it didn't go the way she wanted to, her intention and plan was to go home and end it. And within a few months of giving that presentation, she had gone through phase 4 and graduated. And I share that story all the time because we don't even know when other people are at their
limit,
at their end.
Wow.
If we hadn't answered the phone, if someone had looked at her a certain way, if she didn't get the response, or if she got a response that validated the lie she believed, that she wasn't worth it or she wasn't good enough, if anyone had accidentally validated that, she would not be here.
Wow.
And that moment, I can see her sitting in the boardroom. I'll never forget that opening line. And she just went on to tell the story about how she, went through the program, and she talked about how she would go home in darkness. She never opened her curtains. And within weeks of being enrolled, she started to let the light in physically into her space and into her heart. And I just thought, that's why we do this. And we don't even know how badly someone needs this type of support. I think about her all the time.
Wow, that just touches my heart. And you know what? You're, as a CEO and just a woman in leadership, I feel like I do not know how people can serve or be in leadership without being a follower of Christ. And especially in your role, you have to be a woman of faith to just walk these women through this season that they're in, to walk your staff through this season, because I could not imagine someone who is just checking the boxes.
Right.
You can't be that type of leader just to check the boxes with the hard work that you do.
Yeah.
And just as a woman of faith, how has your faith sustained or shaped your leadership in this space?
I think being able to see women for the gems and the beauty that they are.
Yeah.
There's this verse in Songs of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "You're altogether beautiful. There is no flaw in you." And I remembered one of the phase up ceremonies. I shared that with our women. And they're like, "What?" Because when people see them, all they see is their choices or their bad breaks, but if you just see her as that's someone's daughter, mom, sister, aunt, it literally could be anyone you know or love. So I think my faith helps me to see with the eyes of Christ. It's like just seeing people beyond what they're showing up with and looking past even how they present. I remember I was walking to the reception area, and a new member was in the area, and she looks at me and she's like, and what do you do here? You know, very like
Girl, who
on
you?
edge, like, who are you, right? And I just said, hey, hi, my name is Bianca. How long have you been with us? I didn't even say
I'm
my
the
role
CEO. I'm this.
because I knew it would just create another layer, another wall between us. And she's like, oh, I've been coming for a few months now, and this is what I've enjoyed. And she just softened completely. And I think that discernment that comes with being a person of faith just allows you to read the room in a way that I don't have to lead with my title. I can go through any day not saying what I do and who I am and all of those things. I'm Bianca. How can I help?
Yes.
How long have you been with us?
Yes.
And I think that a lot of that comes from my faith.
Yeah, obviously. So when you reflect on your own story, what do you want her story to say?
Oh, wow. That I was consistently true to myself and to my faith. That you didn't have to wonder which version of me you would get. Like, I want to be so consistent to the point where if someone says something, you would be able to say,
Oh, no, that's not her.
That wouldn't be her.
Oh, wow.
Right? So just that type of character is what I want my her story to be, is that I was a woman of character and consistency, and that I was optimistic and always believed that there would be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, listen, as we close up today, first of all, I just want to tell you thank you so much for just taking time just to come share about New Friends, New Life, and just to share your story with us. It's such an important story. But I would love for you to share, how can people connect with New Friends, New Life, whether they want to volunteer, whether they want to donate.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share that.
Yes, well, we are on all the social channels, so you can look for New Friends, New Life on Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn and YouTube. And that's a good way to know not only what's going on with our agency, but what's going on with the issue. We're always covering the news stories, the legislative changes, just connecting the dots for people, and also visiting our website if you want to volunteer, to sign up for that bus tour that you mentioned, to volunteer in the garden. We have a garden where our women can work for income, and that where we provide organic produce for the public. So you can bring girlfriends and book clubs and folks from church and corporate partners to come and volunteer, serve dinner, help our women play bingo, help them get dressed for interviews. And really specifically, you mentioned this earlier, but specifically for the men, right? Because if we know that most of the traffickers are male, most of the buyers are male, then if we are going to end this issue, we have to engage our good guys.
Yeah.
So men can be a part of our men's advocacy group. We have them do mock interviews with our women. It's so important that she can look a man in the eye who might remind her from someone from her past and not be triggered, and can tell her story. They come on Valentine's Day with chocolate, and they play games, and they give compliments, and our women always say, I don't even know what to do with this. I've never had a something for nothing exchange.
Wow.
It's always been, if you said something to me, what do I owe you for that? So our men serve such an important role in reshaping those relationships. So it's not, like you said, it's not a women's issue. It's a human issue, right? And we need our good guys to come to the table. So look for us online. Our website is newfriendsnewlife.org, or find us on social media.
I love it. I love it. I love the good guys. Come on, good guys. I know there's some good guys out there
Yes.
that would love to some men's ministries and just different, especially for your young sons. This would be a great exposure just to train up young men on how to treat women and what happens and so on. So thank you again, friend. It's so good seeing you.
So great
Be blessed.
to see you too. Thank you.